You're listening to Inside Lebo, a podcast giving you an inside look at Mount Lebanon, Pennsylvania. Hosted by Assistant Municipal Manager and Municipal Planner Ian McMeans and Assistant Public Information Officer and Online Editor Stephanie Hackey.
Welcome to episode 3 of Inside Lebo. I'm your host, Assistant Municipal Manager and Municipal Planner Ian McMeans.
And I'm Assistant Public Information Officer and Online Editor Stephanie Hackey.
Coming up in a few minutes, we have a big announcement about a very special event coming to Mount Lebanon.
On our show today, we have Associate Director of Public Services Sharon Bruni from the Mount Lebanon Public Library. She has all of the details on this special event coming to Mount Lebanon.
Here's a hint. It's an award-winning speaker who's coming here for the library's speaker series.
Hi Sharon, nice to meet you.
Oh, nice to meet you, Stephanie. Thank you, Stephanie and Ian, for inviting me today.
Absolutely. Tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do at the library?
Well, I guess I technically manage the professional librarians at the library, and we are a diverse group of librarians. We have the children's librarians, we have our teen librarian, and we have our adult services librarians. All librarians provide a multitude of different public programs, and we also purchase and manage the library's physical collections.
We love the library, honestly. It's a great place in Mount Lebanon to hang out and get books. So today we're going to be talking about the speaker series at the Mount Lebanon Public Library. Can you tell us a little bit about the series?
Sure. So the series actually predates my time at the library. It began in 2014. It was originally designed to honor a very special person to the Mount Lebanon Public Library, Joe Wertheim. He was very involved in both the Friends of the Mount Lebanon Public Library and the library board. He devoted many hours to the library, and he passed away prior to my arrival, and there was an outpouring of donations. And the director at the time, Cynthia Ritchie, wanted to do something to honor him that might have some longevity, and what she wanted to do, because he was just a very big supporter of reading and the library, she thought a speaker series would be the way to do that. So she began, and she invited a writer who writes suspense and thrillers, Lisa Scottolini, and that was our first author. And the intent back then was that maybe it would just last, one or two events, and then it would then the donations would disappear. And so when I came on board, I inherited some funds, and I was able to think about we could secure a speaker for those funds, or we could take a risk and we could bring on someone who was a little bit more than the funds that we had, and we would charge a ticket fee, and we would see if we could make it happen. And that's what we decided to do. So we brought on Alexander McCall Smith, who was he is a very popular author. And that was the beginning of my involvement in the series.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that story. Who are some of the other speakers that you've had in the past?
Okay, so after Alexander McCall Smith, and he was a great first speaker for us. We kind of decided to choose him after researching what was going out in the system, and we could see that we did a report of the most books circulated by an author, and he was one of the top circulating authors. So we were a hit. We nearly sold out Mellon Auditorium, but even so, because we wanted to keep the ticket cost low, we only charged $20 a ticket. And we didn't have the full funding in the account for him. We didn't have a lot of extra money to work with. So the next speaker we had to choose very selectively, because we had a very limited budget. And we had Lisa C. Pardon me, I skipped a very, very important one. Again, in a way, she reminds me of, I can't tell you who our new speaker is going to be, but she has this author, Joyce Carol Oates, who is just a literary giant, has such a wide range of genres that she writes in, and she was the person that has done a lot of work with the speaker series, who is not here with us today, is Sarah McGowan, and she is one of our adult services librarians. And Sarah was, for many years, the person that would do the actual coordinating work behind the scenes for the event. And she has a very special relationship with Joyce Carol Oates. So we selected Joyce, and she did a tremendous job. We were just honored to have someone with her heft at the library. And then after her, we had Lisa C. And following Lisa C., we had Eric Larson. And Eric Larson was our first completely sellout event. And then following Eric was our most recent event with Amor Tolls. And that was another sellout, which happened, there was a little break with COVID.
So what are some of the things you look for in a speaker when you're trying to choose someone to bring to Mount Lebanon?
Okay, so again, like I said, that Sarah McGowan had for many years been the one librarian that I would say did the most work on this event. But she and I would sit down and we would look at what has been circulating and which authors are popular. We kind of got a sense after a while what the community likes, and it seems like instead of doing authors that are very popular in the moment, it seems like the authors that have been around for a while, that have been established, and just have some readership and following have been the ones that have been most successful. We kind of know that. So those are the people that we look for. We tended to trend toward having more women than men in the audience, but recently we kind of got an equation together to increase the amount of men that have attended. So with Eric Larson, because we picked an author that writes nonfiction, and the subject matter that he writes about was appealing to men, so we got a lot of men with him. And then again with Amor Tolls, so we've started to see the male attendance start to increase.
So one last question before our big reveal of the speaker. What was your goal this year when you were kind of choosing the speaker? What were you trying to accomplish with who you selected?
So I feel like it falls in line with our past selections. We were looking for someone who has been around a while, that has some literary merit, and that again that we've seen a lot of circulation in their books. So that's usually what we kind of play it safe when it comes to what we select, because we have a limited budget and we want to make sure that we pick authors that definitely will bring in a large portion of the community.
Safe, but also authors that are very popular with our readership.
Absolutely.
Okay, we're going to take a short break here, and then when we come back, Sharon will introduce us to this year's speaker. Welcome back to Inside Lebo. So, time for the big reveal. Sharon, who is this year's speaker for the Library Speaker Series?
Well, it's my pleasure to announce Colson Whitehead as our 2023 Mount Lebanon Public Library Speaker Series author, and we are so beyond pleased that we were able to bring him here.
Whoa, that's huge. How were you able to get him here?
Well, the library, let me back up just a little bit on this. In about 2018, we started to offer free author talks that were still under the umbrella of the speaker series. We started to develop a lot of relationships with publishers and editors, and they would reach out to us, and they would say, hey, we would like to publicize, we have an author, would you like to host them? So we started to develop a little bit of a relationship and a reputation for hosting events. So throughout the year, we were doing monthly free programs, and then that would be the lead up to this main event. The main event is something that we always pay for, and so we use a speakers bureau for that. And in the past, we used a lot of the same speakers bureau, which is Stephen Barclay, but this particular year, we're using the actual publisher that has a speakers bureau, and that's Penguin Random House. And so that is who is bringing Colson here for us.
That's awesome. how often do you have a multi-Pulitzer Prize winning author be able to come to your community? So that's so cool that we're able to get him.
Yeah, Colson by far is the most literary awarded author that we have. He's won 2 consecutive Pulitzer Prizes. He won the National Book Award. He won the Kirkus Book Prize for Fiction, among many other awards. So yeah, he is definitely medaled.
And for those listeners who may not be familiar with Colson Whitehead, his novel, The Underground Railroad, was the one that kind of shot him up to literary stardom. He became the 6th writer to win both a National Book Award and a Pulitzer Prize for the same novel. The Underground Railroad, I believe, was published in 2016, and then his follow-up novel, The Nickel Boys, also won a Pulitzer Prize as well. So that's quite an accomplishment. So that's really cool that we'll have him here in our community, and our residents will have the opportunity to come see him. So how do they get tickets for the event?
I just want to quickly say one thing, Ian. You're right about The Underground Railroad probably being the book that most people know, and people might know it also from the Amazon Prime series, that there was an adaptation that took place in May of 2021. Yep. So that was very popular. So that if you've seen the adaptation, please read the book. But yes, I'm so sorry. You can get tickets for the event through the library's website. So it's mountlebanonlibrary.org, and you will see we have a spotlight on the website for the speaker series. Simply click on the spotlight, and you can pay for your ticket online.
That's awesome. Very cool. I'll definitely be signing up for that. So tell us, what else do you want people to know about Colson?
Well, I think that is really, when I was talking about Joyce Carol Oates, about how she has such a broad range in her ability to write and the types of books that she writes. And he is similar. It's amazing what Colson can write. So he has written speculative science fiction horror. He has written historical fiction. He has written, of course, literary fiction, and he's a nonfiction writer. He's written memoirs and essays, and he has great humor in his writing. So even in the books that are very, very serious, there's always some element of humor. And he also is he's able to seamlessly in one book kind of go between, interweave these different genres, and it just seems effortless. So it's really, he's skilled at the craft, and I think that part of his talk is going to be about how he writes and how he's become the kind of writer that he is today. And Harlem Shuffle, which is his most recent book, happens to be my personal favorite of his books, and it is because it is a book, like some people have said that he's kind of left some of the heaviness behind in this book, but it is, he never leaves behind his central themes of identity and race and his authentic voice. And somehow it all of his past experiences seem to culminate into this one book, and it is the main character, Ray Carney, is hilarious, and he's lovable, and he's kind of an anti-hero in this heist novel, and it is, I would say it's propulsive. It takes you back into the 60s in Harlem, New York, and Colson is a native New Yorker. He has written nonfiction stories about living in New York. He knows Harlem, and it just you, through Ray Carney's eyes, you just are transported back in time, and you feel as if you're walking those streets, and it's just a seriously good read.
I love watching your face while you're talking about him. You're just lighting up. So if residents wanted to read up on Colson's books, can they get them at the library?
Yes, I believe that we definitely have every one of his books, and also because we're connected with the county system, you can always put a book on hold and get it picked up at the library. And I think, as always, when we do the lead up to the event, we buy multiple copies of his books. But yeah, I would definitely try to read around and see the breadth of this man's writing, because it's pretty incredible. I mean, he's written books about poker. He has written about zombies.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he goes all over the place, and everyone is good. So
is there a book that you would recommend folks read before the speaker series?
So, actually about Harlem Shuffle for sure, because that is his recent, and he has a follow-up, a sequel coming out in the summer of 2023 that is based on Harlem Shuffle and the character Ray Carney. So I think that's like the number one I would read, and then I would try maybe read one of his nonfiction books. The Noble Hustle is the one about poker, and the Colossus of New York is the one about New York stories. So maybe read something like that to get a sense of who he is as a person.
That's fascinating that, some of the newer ones and the nonfiction ones rank higher for you than the ones that won the Pulitzer Prizes. And I know those are the ones that kind of got him on the radar, but it's always interesting to see how an author's career kind of progresses and how their writing style evolves over time as they put out more work. And I think your point about the breadth of topics that he's been able to cover in his work and how engaging they all are is really going to make him a wonderful draw for our community.
Thank you, Ian, and thank you, Stephanie.
Absolutely.
I'm excited for this opportunity.
So we talked about tickets. When is the big event? Tell us
that's very important.
The most important part, right?
Yes. It's April 26th, and it's at 7:00, and it will be held as usual at the Mellon Auditorium.
And these do sell out, so folks will want to buy tickets soon.
Absolutely, yeah. We've had our last 2 events have been sellouts, so yeah, I wouldn't wait.
Amazing. What do you hope Mount Lebanon readers take from this talk?
I think that with all of the primary reason why we do the speaker series is that we want to make books come alive for people. So connecting people with the author and having that firsthand experience to hear the author talk about his craft, about the works, about the characters. I think that that's just a memorable event, and we've seen that in the past, how we look out at the audience and we see their responses to seeing that author that they've loved so much on the stage. So I think that's the important part.
I love it.
That's great. And since the event is about 6 months from now, people have plenty of time to read up on Colson Whitehead's works, both fiction and nonfiction.
Absolutely.
And one other relatively new thing at the library is there's now an app you can get on your phone, so you can request books directly from your phone. You don't have to wait till you get home to go online to do it. You don't have to search around the library to do it. You can request them from your phone and just have them right there on the hold shelf for you when you come in.
Thank you, Ian. You can obviously tell that you are a fan.
I actually just came from the library picking up books I had on the hold shelf, so yes.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sharon, for being a guest today and for helping us reveal the speaker of next year's speaker series. That's it for this edition of Inside Lebo, produced by Carrie Monio, with music by Drew Monio, her husband, and graphics by Chris Leeper.
We'll be back in a few weeks with another episode of Inside Lebo.
Thanks for listening to Inside Lebo, produced by Mount Lebanon's Public Information Office. Learn more about all things Lebo at mountlebanon.org or by following our Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages.